Hi, I just flew back from GAMA Expo 2022, and boy, are my arms tired. Mostly from the shoulder bag that I wore during the show, in addition to sleeping on an airplane, something I have gotten out of the habit of doing over the past couple of years. With the show fresh in my mind, I thought I would talk about 3 topics that stood out at the show based on conversations I had with various attendees. Number 1 was a return to normalcy, which feels weird and is possibly the wrong phrase to use given that the COVID pandemic is still highly active all around the world, that the rates of vaccination are widely different depending on the country you're talking about and about regions within a country. We all had to show a COVID vaccination card in order to be admitted to the show. You had to wear a mask anytime you were within regions of the casino slash hotel slash spa slash resort that was hosting the show. So things did not feel normal, but normalcy was evident, namely in that you actually got to meet with other people and talk with them, and it felt strangely normal. So I spoke with one person, for example, who said that aside from their immediate family, all the publishers and distributors and retailers and media people that they saw at shows were the people that they saw most frequently because they attend a lot of shows. They're traveling around to different countries. They're trying to promote their games. And so they're interacting with a lot of the same people at various shows. And I have this experience as well because I work on my own. All the BGG people, we work on our own. And I would see my fellow employees only at conventions. Without conventions, we just worked on our own, our little silos, and did our own thing. And that was pretty much it, aside from slacking online. But here at GAMA Expo, we got to talk to people. And so we would talk about games, of course, and what they're coming out with. But it was also just talking with other people. And sure, it was a bit muffled and things were a bit odd. And nearly every conversation started with, "So how have you been doing?" With the implication that, of course, things have been terrible in general, but hopefully they're good for you and things haven't been that bad. It's the implication. How much you get into it, of course, well, depends on how well you know the other person and what you feel like sharing at the time and how many times you've said the same thing over and over again. But things felt normal, and normal in a mixed blessing type of way, given that sales of board games skyrocketed in 2020 as people were trying to find things to do when they were stuck at home and unable to interact with people outside their home. And sales of games have continued to be pretty good, so much so that manufacturers in general will have shortages of open time where publishers can jump in with a print run. They might have to wait months to get something reprinted. It's not good in terms of getting things to market, but it is good in terms of selling things. So it's this mixed blessing feeling where you can run out of something and then not have a resupply come in until much later, depending on how you have scheduled all your print runs based on availability at the manufacturers. There are, of course, closings of manufacturers in China based on COVID cases being live in certain areas, and then factory will be shut down for some period of time. And of course, that disrupts everything. And there's problems with shipping, and there's all these other issues that come up. But aside from that, sales of board games have been pretty good, and more people have gotten in the market. And even with things opening up again, at least in the US in various areas, for good or bad, sales have continued to be pretty good. And most publishers that I heard talking about how things were going at the show, the number of encounters they had with retailers and sales they're making and all these contacts, everything seemed to be pretty good. And this followed on Gen Con 2021 when every publisher I talked with at the show was just like, things are fantastic despite the limited attendance numbers. Sales at Gen Con 2021 were better despite the number of attendees being half what it was in 2019. Sales were better because people were very eager to get out there and buy things. Of course, there was also the issue that Asmodee and some other larger people did not show up at Gen Con 2021, so then sales drift down to other publishers that might have been overlooked should the number of games available at the show have been much larger. So things were normal-ish, and it felt really good just to talk with other people. That is what gaming is all about, at least for me, is gaming with someone else and having that person at the table and seeing how they respond and all the little cues that you're trying to read as you figure out what they're trying to do and how you can make them sweat and hopefully break them down and beat them. Or, of course, in a cooperative game, not do that. So it felt good to have that level of interaction with other people, and things seem to be rolling along. Lots of publishers were looking forward to the next shows that are coming up, and they're planning for the future. And yes, the Spielwarenmesse Messe was canceled, and New York Toy Fair in New York was canceled, but the Con Fair went on, and now GAMA Expo went on, and Astra looks okay, and there's some distributor shows coming up. So everyone's looking ahead to the future and planning to be there with whatever precautions they need to take, but the expectation is they'll be there, and that players will be there as well, looking for new games, and ideally they can show them new titles, which includes titles released over the past 2 years, which are often new for a lot of people just because they haven't been in stores and have not seen them. So speaking of publicity, that brings us to topic number 2, and that is coverage of GAMA itself. So the Board Game Geek team was not at GAMA 2022, only me, because we were not live streaming. We have live streamed multiple shows in the past, but we did not this year. I went, I took notes, I took photos, I talked with a lot of people. I'm going to be doing videos, talk about that in a moment, and lots of write-up and coverage and tweets with photos and all that type of thing, but no live stream coverage. And the Dice Tower was not present. They have done live stream in the past. Nope, not there. There was no one filming as far as I could tell, but a lot of publishers were talking about filming in the form of TikTok. Now, video previews, of course, are a huge thing, especially for Kickstarted titles, because you're trying to get awareness in advance of a Kickstarter or a crowdfunding campaign going live. You want to get everyone there to begin with, ready to shell out their money. So that's been a big thing, but publishers were talking about hiring people specifically for TikTok coverage because, in case you were not aware, a lot of people use TikTok. So publishers are looking to have more coverage there, especially because the market of people, that sounds so weird to say, the market of people on TikTok are often game players, but they're not in the gaming hobby. And so this is having you connect with people who want to play things or are interested in playing games, but just might not see you anywhere else. I talked to someone at Hachette at Gen Con 2021, and they mentioned that videos of Corridor, a game by Gigamic that is decades old, had been receiving collectively 60 million views at the time of Gen Con 2021, and they could just watch sales spike after videos went live because the game was being introduced to new people. This decades old game is brand new to most people because they have not seen it. And that's the case for pretty much every game that you would talk about or see here or see at GAMA itself. It will be new for most people, given that TikTok has 1 billion users. So you should probably be on TikTok. This is what a retailer said directly. She held little mini conferences. She said, I'm a retailer. I just started doing TikTok recently. You should be on TikTok too. I attended one of those meetings and it was super helpful. She was very enthusiastic. Adriana, it's very cool. I'm glad I went and talked with you. She's giving me guidelines about what to do. And this is something I'm going to try to do more. And Board Game Geek is trying to do more as well. We have a TikTok channel, Board Game Geek.com, I believe. Again, I'm new. I'm so new at TikTok. We posted a few videos and we're going to post more. My first effort should be live at the time that this video goes live on Monday, March 21st, 2022. And we'll post more. It's a way to possibly reach people who play games who are not familiar with BGG or modern hobby games or just lots of games, because the world of games outside what you see in a mainstream store is huge. But how do you come across them? And this is one way to introduce games to multiple people, just because my whole goal is always to help you find the games that you will enjoy, which might not be the games that I enjoy. So ideally, we put out overviews and information and details and just help you find things that you want. And so this is another way to reach different people and talk about games. I'm just very curious because, as I mentioned, I am new to TikTok and I've scanned different things and you see games that I have never heard of with 500,000 views or games that I know of and sort of like, oh, okay, yeah, I saw that. Oh, wait, that video has 2 million views. There are really that many people interested in it? Or is it presentation? What is going on here? It's fascinating to look at. And so we'll try that. We'll see what we do. We'll have different members, I think, of the BGG crew doing videos. We'll see what we can come up with. It's something new to try out. If you're not trying new things, well, okay, why not? So topic 3, different matter. It relates to the new normalcy. It relates to things being really good for the game market with this crowd of people who are interested in trying all sorts of different games. Are the games available to them? I spoke with a number of publishers and retailers and overheard various conversations that the standard distribution model in the United States seems to be crumbling. Some publishers said it was fine, everything's getting out, their games are getting carried on to stores. The normal model for distribution is that a publisher is going to have a game manufactured, it will be delivered to the publisher or directly to different distributors. If delivered to the publisher sends it out to distributors, and then a retailer will go to a distributor and get games from various publishers, 2 from publisher A, 2 from publisher B, from C, from D, and so on. And they don't have to contact all the publishers individually and pay shipping on all those things and handle lots of invoices. You go to one source and you order all the things that you want to carry in your store, and now you have it available to your customers, to the people walking into your retail store. But publishers are saying distributors are not ordering enough. They're not ordering effectively. They're not ordering in depth. They don't keep things in stock. And retailers, I placed orders and I didn't get it. Things were allocated. They're not available. Are you out of stock of something? Retailer publisher conversation I was at the table with. Retailers like, yes, we tried to order. We did not have those available. I think they were allocated. And the publisher is like, did you order directly from us? No, order from a distributor. And they're like, we have thousands of copies in stock. And retailers like, I would like you to learn about your direct order program. And I heard this over and over again from publishers where they are encouraging retailers to order directly from them to make sure that the publisher's games are on the retailer's shelves. Retailers, of course, this is an additional burden for them because, again, now you have to go out and talk to all these different publishers and make sure that you are on top of what's coming out. But if a distributor is not promoting a publisher's game or keeping it in stock, well, that doesn't help the publisher and that doesn't help the retailer. Now, from the distributor's point of view, I've talked to distributor representatives as well, and often the things that distributors are doing make perfect sense for them, because if I have game A that retails for $50 and game B that retails for $50 and they cost the same when they're coming in, I don't necessarily care if I'm selling game A or game B. So if game A comes out and I sell through my stock and then game B is announced and it's kind of the same thing, maybe I'm just done with game A and I'll order game B and I'll have that available. And I just don't worry about restocking A because maybe game A's time is done. I don't want to order more and then be stuck with it because distributors have a very narrow margin on what they sell. Their costs relative to what they sell it for retailers, they need to move a lot of titles. And so you don't want to be stuck with things and maybe you just move on to the next thing. Even though a publisher still has a title in stock, still is promoting it, may still have expansions coming out, they have tournaments, whatever is going on. That's the publisher's focus, but the distributor, again, might be indifferent to whatever the publisher has planned. And the retailer wants to satisfy their customers and get the game to them that the customer wants because, of course, that's your job. That's how you earn money, is making your store a place where people can go and get the things they want, or you introduce them to things that they end up liking. That means you need to have product to satisfy them. So distribution seemed like there was a lot of it just not working. And so again, there's lots of direct to retailer programs that publishers have, and They're trying to make that happen to ensure that their titles get into stores and are available to people. It doesn't make any sense to have something in the warehouse and a distributor doesn't reorder it, or a distributor has copies in warehouse A but not in warehouse B, which is where the retailer is ordering from, and it's difficult to get things transitioned from one to another. So if you're a publisher, maybe you already know this and you are already trying to make this happen. And if you're a retailer, well, maybe you need to reach out to the publishers and figure out what to order, which again is a hardship because you are not getting a catalog from the distributor or some sort of information where all the publisher information from all the different publishers is available together and you see everything coming. Instead, you have to contact different publishers over and over again or be in different newsletters and then track it all. And it's a huge pain. And I know this because I'm on a lot of publisher newsletters. And of course, I want to write about new games. It's information coming in constantly. And if I were trying to stock a store, man, it would take a lot of work in order to monitor everything coming in. But of course, maybe this is just what they have to do for now until something better is figured out. Or you're going to have publisher distributor exclusives and then you know where to go. There's only one source and that distributor should always have it in stock because they're the only one who has it. So it's effectively like ordering from the store itself. This may or may not work. It did not work in the comic industry when they tried to do this in the early 90s when Marvel Comics bought a distributor. And then DC and other companies all went with Diamond, and the distributor Marvel bought was not set up for nationwide distribution in the US and just fell apart relatively soon. And then one distributor, Diamond, just took control of everything. So we'll see what happens. But that's a little behind the scenes thing of why you might go into a store and not see the game that you think you should see on the shelf, or why you might prefer to just order direct from the publisher, because why wait? You don't know when the retailer is going to get it in stock. The retailer themselves may not know when they're going to get it in stock unless the retailer is ordering from the publisher. And so you go direct to the publisher and get it there, or go to one of these conventions now that conventions are starting again and you can get titles. So it's an interesting behind the scenes thing that is happening. Okay. Small minor trend I thought I'd just cover briefly. Stuff I took home from the show, things you might see in future videos like this. Was interesting talking about things that have changed. So many publishers had catalogs like normal, right? All sorts of things that you would see. But many publishers had just gone to QR codes, and that's it. And you're going to find something. Here, I'll make a little flyer, but otherwise, you can download what you need. Why am I dealing with paper anymore? And this is another long-term effect of the pandemic where everyone was getting everything online. So why do I need to print stuff out anymore? That's just paper that's going to be outdated and thrown away. I can make a QR code and that will be good forever. And I can update whatever that QR code is going to, and you'll get the most recent thing, whatever that happens to be. Why not do that? Ideally, make things easier for both of us. Although, of course, you have to remember to actually go to this QR code and do the thing. So games, I took home not that many copies of things, but Walkie Talkie, it's a little communicative real-time card game played with letters and colors. Okay. Flux Remix, a new base game Flux that takes all the keepers in the original Flux, but you have different goals, you have different action cards, extra Chaos Edition you see there. Flux has sold a lot of copies over 25 years and it's continuing to go on. And so this is the newest out of many other titles that will come. Olympus Flux was announced at the same time, I think due out in May. So there's the little Flux expansion packs coming. There's lots of stuff. More Flux. Abstract Academy, a game where you are collectively making a painting with other players, but I might score the bottom of the painting and you're scoring this side of the painting and so on. And so we're sort of competing to complete different goals, both public and private, as we are painting this abstract painting with little color swatches here. Air, Land, and Sea, Spies, Lies, and Supplies, a standalone expansion. Manifold, not a game, but a puzzle. It's an origami puzzle where you're folding paper and you have to get all the white squares on one side and all the black squares on the other as you fold it. It's so much fun. I love Manifold. Manifold 2 differs because the sheets of paper now are a 9x9 grid instead of 8x8, and it's got different patterns and all that sort of stuff. Gameland. Not a game at all, but Gameland is a publisher, and they have a little kit here to show what types of products they can produce for you, the manufacturer, for you, the publisher, if they are the manufacturer of your game. And yet this is supposedly also a playable game on its own. So I'm really curious about it. Also, I don't think it's in the BGG database. So I'm going to get that out there. The Guardians of Haversack, game by Ketchup. Ketchup, yep. Just released in French. This was a mock-up copy that a representative was showing around to try to talk about licenses for an English edition, but as English rules, I can play this and talk about it. I loved Ketchup's Pharaon. Fantastic game that seems to have just vanished. I don't know. Games have short lives. Again, this ties into distribution, or they seem to have short lives where something will peak and then just fall off. And maybe the level of interest goes on in a very low manner, but it's not being talked about, or there's no buzz or anything. It's a great thing, but it's sort of invisible. The publisher still wants to sell it, is still doing expansions. But again, not seen necessarily. The Guild of Merchant Explorers. New title come from AEG. I previewed this after Gen Con 2021, where I played a few sample rounds. So this is coming out relatively soon from AEG, and there's multiple expansion maps as well. Another AEG release, Meeples and Monsters. This was a Kickstarter that was recently fulfilled. I believe this is the retail edition that I have not opened yet. It's a bag building game that you can find explanation of on Board Game Geek. You have Decorum, a cooperative game in which you each have certain desires for how you want to build a house. Different rooms within the house, and you're going to have to try to figure out what's going to make everyone happy. That's the passive-aggressive nature here. Hopefully, we can all be satisfied just enough with how things go on. And next to last, Arc Nova, which you might have heard of. I'm not sure that Arc Nova is my type of game, but Clay at Capstone Games was like, Eric, you should really try this. And my boss, Scott Alden, loves the game, and he's like, Eric, dude, you should just try this. And so apparently now I'm going to try Arc Nova and see what I think about it, right? Try new things. Try new things. This is just like TikTok. Try new things. Maybe I'll love it. Maybe it'll be just for me, and I won't know it unless I try it. It's a good attitude to have, sort of have that outlook where you'll give it a go. Of course, you got a limited amount of time. Hopefully it fits with me and everything's wonderful. But as wonderful as it might be, it is not going to compete with my prize from GAMA Expo 2022. Yes, even more so than Arc Nova, it is a Thomas Kincaid painting of Superman fighting Doomsday. Oh, sorry, not a painting. It is a jigsaw puzzle from Seiko. Yes, this thing is so ridiculous. This is actually a few years old, but representative from Game Right, which is owned by Seiko, was at the show and displaying these. And I was just like, what in the world is this? This is the most weirdly American thing that I have seen. Thomas Kincaid Studios painting of Superman in a jigsaw puzzle. And she let me take it home. And I'm really excited just to do this. Oh, that's my alarm. Time is up. This video is over. I am out. I will see you again in the future. And hopefully you can join us on TikTok. And now it's time to go.